Picture this. You're sitting in class, bored out of your mind, doodling in your notebook. You erase a drawing, and instead of disappearing, it comes to life in a magical world where everything erased exists forever. That was the premise of one of Nickelodeon's most underrated and forgotten shows. That's right, we are talking about ChalkZone. This was a super underrated show even when I was growing up, and I absolutely loved it. And when thinking about a new show for this video, I was like, wow, people don't talk about this show that often. Now, running from 2002 to 2008, ChalkZone was a series full of imagination, creativity, and music. It had one of the most unique setups of any Nicktoon. Yet today, it barely gets mentioned alongside Nickelodeon giants like Fairly OddParents or Danny Phantom. So in this video, let's dive into what made ChalkZone so special, where it came from, some characters, and the magic of the world. Now, I cannot wait to talk about this underrated show, but before we do that, guys, make sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe if you have not, and join the Discord to stay intact with everything on my channels. With that being said, let's dive on into it. Now, ChalkZone didn't actually start as a full series. It first appeared as a short on Nicktoons' Oh Yeah cartoons in 1998. The same place where Fairly OddParents and My Life as a Teenage Robot got its start. The short was created by Bill Burnett and Larry Hubert. Audiences loved the concept of a world inside a chalkboard, and by 2002, Nickelodeon officially greenlit ChalkZone as a full series. It premiered on March 22nd, 2002 and ran for 4 seasons with a total of 40 episodes. At the time, Nick was pushing out hit after hit, but ChalkZone always felt a little different. A bit more experimental, a bit more niche. So what was ChalkZone all about? The show followed Rudy Tabootie. Yes, that was his name. A 10-year-old boy with an incredible artistic gift. He discovers a piece of magic chalk. When he uses it, he learns that everything he erases enters a parallel universe known as the ChalkZone. Now, in ChalkZone, erased drawings don't just vanish, they become real. Creatures, characters, entire landscapes, everything that was ever scribbled and erased lives in this strange, colorful world. Now, Rudy, along with his friend Penny Sanchez and his chalk-created sidekick Snap, explore ChalkZone, going on adventures, solving problems, and occasionally battling some of the most chaotic and erased creations. The premise was genius because it tapped directly into kids' imaginations. Who hasn't ever doodled in school and daydreamed about their drawings coming to life? Now, at the heart of ChalkZone was its cast. For its main character, like I said, Rudy Tabootie, a creative kid who loved drawing more than anything. He was curious, brave, and often got it over his head, but his imagination was his greatest strength. Then there's Snap, a quick-witted, blue-skinned cartoon character Rudy once drew and erased. Snap was funny, mischievous, and the comic relief of the show, but also fiercely loyal to Rudy. Penny Sanchez was Rudy's best friend and the brains of the group. Where Rudy was impulsive, Penny was analytical. She often kept Rudy and Snap out of trouble with her problem-solving skills. Now, the main villain of this series was Scrawl. He was a chalk creation gone wrong, a badly drawn doodle who became a bitter and vengeful, constantly trying to take over ChalkZone. Then there's Reggie Bullnerd, Rudy's classroom rival, a bully obsessed with tattling and making Rudy's life much harder. Together, these characters balanced humor, creativity, and conflict, giving the show both heart and some adventure. Now, one of the most fascinating things about this show was the realm of ChalkZone. ChalkZone was essentially an entire parallel universe built from erased chalk drawings. This meant it was a world without limits. You could have dinosaurs, robots, aliens, stick figures, castles, or just plain nonsense. If it could be drawn, it could exist. The rules of the magic chalk also added layers to the story. Rudy had to protect the chalk from people who might misuse it, and some creations, once erased, that took on their life on their own, sometimes causing additional chaos. Episodes often explored how one small doodle or erased could have massive consequences inside ChalkZone. It made the adventure feel so unpredictable. Now, although the show had 2 acts per episode like most Nicktoons, it did not follow the standard 2 shorts per episode structure. Instead, each episode typically consists of the following structure: 2 segments centering on Rudy's adventures in ChalkZone, the first one usually being 11 minutes long, and the latter being 7 minutes long. In the first season, this was usually one of the original shorts from Oh Yeah Cartoons. A 3-minute short then followed featuring Snap, and a 1-minute song to close out the episode. Now, a funny thing that made ChalkZone so unique was its music. At the end of most episodes, there was a musical segment featuring Rudy, Penny, and Snap as a band. These songs were often funny, quirky, and sometimes surprisingly heartfelt. Now, it didn't always connect directly into the episode's plot, but it gave ChalkZone a significant style that set it apart from other Nicktoons. It was like a bonus cartoon music video every week, and for kids watching back then, it made the show feel extra special. So with such a creative concept, why did ChalkZone fade into the obscurity that is forgotten cartoons? Well, a few reasons might come into play. Well, like I said before, back in the early 2000s, Nickelodeon was just pushing out hit after hit of cartoons. There were heavy hitters like SpongeBob, Fairly OddParents, Jimmy Neutron, Avatar, and ChalkZone could just not compete with these heavy shows. On top of that, it was also a very niche audience. While imaginative, it didn't always have that broad comedy that kept other Nicktoons on top. It also didn't have the best scheduling. Nickelodeon never pushed ChalkZone as hard as the other shows, so it never really reran like most other shows. So sadly, by 2008, this series quietly ended. Now, even though it's been forgotten by many, ChalkZone still has a cult following. Fans remember it for its creativity, its charm, and the way it celebrated imagination. For a generation of kids, it made drawing feel magical and special. Like your doodles could come to life and take on your own adventures. And honestly, that's one of the coolest messages any cartoon could ever have. Now, I remember this show growing up, and every time it was on, I actually tuned in. I felt it very cool, and I liked the imagination that Rudy would go through, having to solve things, having to draw things, having to do things out of the box. And every episode felt very different because new drawings would come to life, new adventures would happen, and they would get in all sorts of trouble. As a kid growing up in the 2000s, this show I actually remembered for being very creative, and also for its cool theme song. The characters were witty, the adventures were fun, there was always something to love about the show. So that's ChalkZone, the Nickelodeon cartoon that erased doodles that came to life in an endless world of imagination. So let me know in the comments down below, do you remember watching this show as a kid? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know. Also, if you loved it, let me know your favorite moments in this series. If you enjoyed this breakdown of this show, make sure to check out all my other videos. The playlist will be in the description down below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into an animation hidden gem. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next Blast from the Past episode.